Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. This is our final session of our spring Definiti Academy. So thank you for tuning in this week. We've really enjoyed having everyone. We've had some really great sessions. This final session is for our financial advisors, and it is, for anyone, whether you're new to 316 fiduciary concept or you've been thinking about it for a while. We have a lot of great content to walk through here over the next 30 minutes or so. We're going to cover what a 316 fiduciary does, why it matters to your clients, retirement plan program, and how it can simplify plan administration while strengthening fiduciary governance. And before we get started, quick housekeeping note. If you do have questions as we go along, please drop them into the Zoom Q&A feature, not in the chat, but the Q&A box specifically. We'll do our best to address those questions during the session. If we don't get to yours for any reason, we will follow up directly afterwards. And today's topic is delivering more, how 316 services strengthen your offering. This session is led by Susan Chulgin and Tiffany Chenard. Suzanne recently joined Definiti as Vice President of 316 Fiduciary Services and New Business Implementation. With more than 25 years of experience in the retirement industry, Suzanne is a strategic leader who brings deep expertise in fiduciary services, regulatory compliance, plan design, operational efficiency, and enhancing client experience. Recognized for her practical, results-oriented leadership, Suzanne helps organizations navigate complex requirements with confidence and clarity. And then Tiffany recently joined Definiti as the Director of 316 Fiduciary Services. Bringing over 2 decades of experience in the financial services industry, she's recognized for delivering operational excellence, enhancing risk management frameworks, and building collaborative, high-performing teams that drive results. Tiffany is a strategic and solutions-driven operations leader with extensive expertise in 316 fiduciary services, ERISA compliance, and retirement plan governance. So we are thrilled to have Suzanne and Tiffany here to share their expertise with our Academy community. And with that, I will hand it over to Suzanne to get us started. Suzanne?
Thank you, Matt. So I'm Suzanne Chulgin. I will be walking you through the table of contents, which will provide a quick roadmap of what we'll be covering. We will start with the basics. What is a 316 fiduciary and who qualifies as a fiduciary under ERISA? We will then move on to why advisors would introduce these services to their clients, which client profiles would benefit most, and what responsibility shifts look like when a 316 is engaged. We will also talk about 316 how 316 fits alongside the TPA and record keeper. We will walk through liability and audit readiness and clarify how this role differs from a 321 or 338 advisor. We'll wrap up with Definiti's 316 service offerings and discuss some important regulatory developments. Tiffany will now discuss what is a 316 fiduciary and who qualifies as a fiduciary under ERISA.
Thanks, Suzanne. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's start with the foundation. What exactly is a 316 fiduciary? Many people think of fiduciary responsibility in narrow terms, but the legal definition is actually much broader than you might expect. Under ERISA, anyone who exercises discretionary authority or control over a plan's management is considered a fiduciary, and many people are serving in that capacity already without even realizing it. For that reason, there are different types of fiduciaries, but for our focus today, we're going to look at 316. A 316 specifically acts as a co-fiduciary for delegated administrative duties. In other words, rather than the plan sponsor handling every administrative task, the 316 assumes specific defined responsibilities. The key takeaway is that a 316 does not replace the plan sponsor. It partners with them to support stronger governance and shared accountability. Let's talk about who qualifies as a fiduciary, and this is where it gets interesting. There are two categories. We have named fiduciaries and unnamed fiduciaries. Named fiduciaries are the ones you'd expect. The business owner is the 402A, the plan sponsor, the trustee, and investment advisors or managers. These fiduciaries are explicitly identified in plan documents. But here's the part that catches clients and advisors alike off guard: the unnamed fiduciaries. Anyone who exercises authority or control over plan assets is a fiduciary under ERISA, regardless of their title. That means your client's CEO, CFO, controller, or even the HR manager who processes contributions could be serving as a fiduciary without knowing it. This is very important for your clients to understand. Signing the 5500, remitting payroll contributions, paying service providers, making investment decisions. Any of these activities can trigger fiduciary status. And with that status comes real responsibility and liability. So, why would an advisor introduce 316 services to their clients? It typically comes down to four things: reducing risk, simplifying administration, strengthening governance, and freeing up internal resources. When administrative fiduciary duties shift away from the plan sponsor, your clients reduce compliance risk and operational burden. A 316 will bring deep expertise in ERISA governance and regulatory requirements. This is exactly what they do every day. And that allows your clients' internal teams to focus on what they do best: running their business, not getting bogged down in the minutia of plan administration. For you as the advisor, this is a powerful conversation to have with your clients. You're not just recommending a service. This translates into you helping them build into a stronger governance framework. Suzanne will walk us through where a 316 fiduciary might be a good fit and cover the key responsibilities that come with the role.
Thanks, Tiffany. So not every plan needs a 316 fiduciary, but certain situations can make for a strong fit. A few examples are plan sponsors with limited HR or benefit staff are usually a natural match, especially where they may not have the bandwidth to manage all the compliance requirements. Growing companies are another great fit. As they scale, the compliance complexity grows exponentially, and a 316 helps them keep administration and oversight on track. Plans that have had past operational issues or needed corrections can also benefit significantly. A 316 partner helps prevent those problems from reoccurring. PEP and pooled arrangements are increasingly common, and the governance structure of a 316 fits naturally here. And then broadly, any plan sponsor that wants to strengthen their fiduciary governance and reduce their exposure is a good candidate. Thinking about your book of business, which of your clients fit these profiles? That's where the 316 conversation starts. What responsibility does a 316 fiduciary take on? This is the practical side of that plan sponsors really want to understand. This can look different for different providers, but we've outlined the foundational elements here. It's important to review and compare what these services look like to ensure it meets your client's needs. A 316 fiduciary acts as a delegated plan administrator under ERISA, which is a significant responsibility. They oversee eligibility determinations, distributions, and loan administration. They review and distribute plan notices and disclosures, making sure everything goes out to the right participants and on time. They also monitor contribution remittances and operational compliance, coordinate with the record keeper and TPA on any corrections that need to happen, and support audits, DOL inquiries, compliance testing, and ensure annual filings are submitted timely. Essentially, the 316 becomes the central point of accountability for the plan's administrative operations. That's a lot of weight taken off the plan sponsor's plate. So what responsibilities does the employer keep? First of all, something to keep in mind and one you'll want to emphasize with clients. Hiring a 316 does not eliminate all the plan's sponsor's fiduciary responsibility, meaning it's not a hands-off solution. The plan sponsor still retains what we call settler functions as the primary plan administrator. Settler functions include plan design decisions like setting the match formula, choosing eligibility requirements, or deciding to add a Roth feature. The plan sponsor also keeps responsibility for hiring and monitoring fiduciaries and service providers, making timely payroll contributions, and any fiduciary responsibility that hasn't been explicitly delegated. The key takeaway is that while 316 services meaningfully reduce a plan sponsor's risk, they still retain a level of responsibility. Setting the right expectations upfront makes for a much smoother partnership down the road. Tiffany?
Thanks, Suzanne. So, what changes when you hire a 316 fiduciary? I really like this slide because I think it's a great visual overview of what changes when a 316 fiduciary comes on board. Take a moment to look how responsibilities shift. The before and after here, I think, is really compelling. On the left side, you see the plan sponsor juggling administrative duties, compliance monitoring, notices, distributions, and more. On the right, many of those responsibilities have now shifted to the 316, leaving the plan sponsor with a much more focused and manageable set of duties. This is a great visual to share with prospects, especially when you're explaining the value of 316. So does a 316 fiduciary replace the TPA or record keeper? This is actually a question we get all the time, and the answer is no. You can think of it this way. Each role has a distinct lane. The record keeper handles the processing of participant level transactions, produces account statements, generates annual trust reports, and provides an interface for account level management. The TPA generally produces the plan document, performs annual compliance testing, and completes technical calculations. The 316 provides fiduciary oversight and decision-making authority on the delegated tasks specified in the service agreement. The key concept here is that the 316 sits above the vendors. They ensure the work is being done correctly and compliantly. It's an oversight and governance role, not a replacement for the operational roles that the TPA and record keeper already fill. This is an important distinction when talking to plan sponsors. Adding a 316 strengthens the overall service model. It doesn't replace any part of it. The next piece is how that translates into real impact for your clients, and Suzanne will take us through that next.
Thanks, Tiffany. Okay, let's talk about liability and accountability. This is where plan sponsors feel the most impact. The 316 accepts fiduciary liability for the duties it assumes. That's a meaningful transfer of responsibility. The plan sponsor's role is reduced, but not eliminated. Form 5500 in most arrangements, the 316 signs as plan administrator, using inputs from the TPA and record keeper. When it comes to an audit and DOL readiness, the 316 serves as the primary contact, coordinates documentation, and supports corrections. What this means is that your client has clearer ownership of their remaining responsibilities and significantly less internal lift. The 316 takes on the fiduciary accountability for the delegated duties and becomes the point person for regulatory interactions. This is a huge value add. Tiffany?
Thanks, Suzanne. I want to take a moment to talk about the different types of co-fiduciaries, because this is often where you as the advisor can help bring clarity for your clients. Plan sponsors can engage different experts to support specific fiduciary responsibilities, and understanding how those roles fit helps everyone stay aligned. What's helpful for clients to understand is that while these roles divide up the work, selecting and engaging those providers is still a fiduciary decision. Responsibility shifts, but it isn't completely handed off. That's why ongoing oversight matters. Regularly reviewing providers, benchmarking services and fees, and revisiting contracts are all part of sound fiduciary due diligence. And when benchmarking, it's really important to compare similar scopes of service because fiduciary service offerings can look very different across providers within the industry. So how is a 316 different from a 321 or a 338 advisor? This next slide gives a simple way to pull all of that together when explaining roles to clients. At a high level, the 316 fiduciary handles day-to-day plan administration and supports governance oversight. The 321 advisor provides the investment guidance, and a 338 investment manager has full discretion over investment decisions. Together, these roles create a more structured support model around the plan. A helpful way to position this is that delegating co-fiduciaries help divide responsibilities, add expertise, and create clearer accountability. But electing and engaging those providers is still a fiduciary decision. From an advisor standpoint, this is where ongoing review, documentation, and alignment really add value. When clients can clearly see who is responsible for what and why those roles exist, it becomes much easier for them to understand the value of each fiduciary partner and how the entire governance model fits together. So at this point, you might be asking, how does Definiti fit into all this? Suzanne is going to help walk us through that.
Thanks, Tiffany. I'd like to take a few minutes to discuss Definiti's specific 316 offerings. We have a dedicated 316 team that partners directly with your clients, TPA retirement plan consultant, on a day-to-day plan administration level. We offer 2 tiers of service. First is Definiti 316 Complete. This covers 21 daily administrative duties handled by our expert team. It's ideal for clients who want a full service partnership where many of the administrative burdens are being handled by specialists. Second is Definiti 316 Essentials. This covers the 11 functions that typically cause plan sponsors the most headaches. It's ideal for clients who already have payroll integration and just need help with the most pain point heavy areas. Both options give plan sponsors real fiduciary relief, and you can match the level of service to what each client needs. Lastly, we're going to shift gears and look at what's happening on the regulatory front. There are some important developments to keep an eye on. First, the DOL has indicated they'll revisit the fiduciary rule in 2026. So we're continuing to keep an eye on that. We're also tracking the Restoring Integrity in Fiduciary Act, which was introduced to the Senate in late 2025. This bill would require fiduciaries to only consider pecuniary factors, meaning factors with a direct and material connection to financial risk or return when making investment decisions. This would amend Section 404A of ERISA. The bill also addresses what happens when a fiduciary can't distinguish between 2 investments using pecuniary analysis alone. Essentially, a coin flip standard for tie breaking, replacing the Biden era approach that allowed non-pecuniary collateral factors. There's also the Providing Complete Information to Retirement Investors Act, which would require plans to clearly explain the difference between choosing investments from the fund lineup versus using a brokerage window. These are all developments that could impact how your clients' plans operate, so it's worth keeping them on your radar. We're also seeing, especially through 2026, is that while the rules themselves haven't changed much, the enforcement has gotten more real. The Department of Labor is digging in deeper during audits and now expects plan administrators to show not just that things ended up okay, but that there are solid, repeatable processes behind them. They're paying a lot more attention to issues like late contribution deposits, missed eligibility, incomplete or inaccurate 5,500 filings, and oversight issues. That's where a 316 fiduciary can really add value by having structured processes, controls, and accountability around these high risk areas and being able to consistently demonstrate that work was done correctly. So the shift is this: it's not just about fixing problems when they happen, it's about proving you had the right controls in place all along. And in today's environment, if plan administrators can't clearly show their processes, even something that feels like a simple administrative mistake can be treated like a fiduciary failure, which is exactly the kind of risk a strong 316 model is designed to help reduce. So that concludes our presentation. We will now address any questions that have been raised.
Okay. Thank you very much, Suzanne and Tiffany. We have a couple questions that have come in. The first one is about 5,500. So as a 316 fiduciary, do you sign the 5,500?
Yeah, I can take that one, Matt. So yes, we do. We will sign the 5,500 as plan administrator, and we'll also file all applicable schedules on time. The
Awesome.
5,500 is prepared using the information we get from the data from record keepers and TPAs.
Great. Thanks, Tiffany. Next question is, what role do you play in an annual plan audit? So thinking of the role of a 316 fiduciary in an annual plan audit. Does anyone want to take that one?
I can answer that one.
Sure.
So we would assist with the audit, providing support to the TPA or record keeper when they prepare the filing. And we would review the audit report to make sure that it aligns with the 5,500.
Great. Thank you. And then this one sort of relates to the last one, but what about an IRS or a DOL audit?
I can take that one. So again, a 316 co-fiduciary is truly going to act as a partnership to the client and also to the advisor. So if the client becomes subject to an IRS or DOL audit, we will be there to support them the entire way through and can also act as a point of contact for these regulatory authorities.
Great, thank you. And I will shamelessly plug our session on IRS and DOL audits from the first day of this week in our plan sponsor track. You can go back and watch that one on demand for some really great insight there as well. Taking a look here, I don't see any other questions coming in. We can leave it open for a minute here while we close. Okay. Well, if you would like to continue the conversation here, we would encourage you to visit definiti.com/sales. We can find an expert in your area. I think the sales map's also in the resources here. If we can answer questions at all for you, we'd be happy to help. So yeah, feel free to get in contact. And with that, thank you to everyone who joined this session. Thank you to our speakers, Suzanne and Tiffany. Really appreciate you covering this twice today for both of our audiences. We've covered a lot of ground over the last couple of hours, from the fundamentals of 316 fiduciary services to practical applications and touching on upcoming regulatory changes. If there were any other questions you had that you didn't get to, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to continue the conversation, and you will see a brief survey pop up shortly. We'd appreciate your input so we can continue to make these sessions even better for you. So thanks again for joining us this week, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.